Welcome to another Soccer Down Here 1v1. Time to catch up with the artistic director and founder of Joy of the People, a 501c3. And it also ties into our coverage of the NPSL. Ted Kroeten is hanging out with us, and he gets to introduce us to Joy St. Louis Park, joining the NPSL as an expansion franchise for 2021 in the Midwest. Ted, thanks for hanging out with us here for a 1v1.
Thanks for having me.
When it came to wanting to do this as an idea, where did the genesis of it come from?
So the idea came from, well, we have to go back because for a long time I ran a very structured academy, and I've been sort of focused on the idea of how do we get better? How do kids get better? What are skills? 10-year-olds want to be the best player ever. Are we really giving them that education? Can we do better? So 11 years ago, we started Joy the People, which is sort of a free play based, but yet very smart developmental system where we allow kids to do what they want. And what they want is they want to play soccer, and they play a lot of it. We provide different services, spaces, activities, or areas, balls, just a big variety. And then we saw the kids getting really, really good. We studied it. And the next step is sort of building. This is really, I mean, people talk grassroots. This is real grassroots. And now it's turning into a tree. And on top of that tree, but not the very top, because we think kids will even go further, is the Joy SLP NPSL team.
I was going to ask, why the NPSL? Because there are a lot of leagues out there with a lot of different ideas and a lot of different directions. What attracted you to the NPSL?
Minneapolis City and some of the other teams that are in our league, Duluth, are doing really innovative things that are kind of fun to watch. Cool jerseys, branding. I mean, we're not marketers, but I do like cool things, and they're pretty cool. And we thought that we're cool too, but we're like soccer. That's our thing, is we can do this soccer really well. And so the idea was, okay, the league is pretty it's pretty close together, so there's not as much transportation that's needed. So we can probably do it on a lower budget. And it just seemed about the right. I didn't quite know what the level was right, but this summer when we had our kids play in the men's league, we kind of saw the level and we thought, okay, this works.
Was it? Did the thought process about doing something, about hopping into a league like the NPSL, did it start with that particular tournament, or was it even further back in your mind and everybody there at Joy of the People, where there was a couple of years worth of thought and you finally had that moment to jump in? How far back are we talking here?
So we don't plan. We're like a tree. Does a tree plan to grow? It plans to get big. We're always looking up of where we're headed, but we don't. We knew that there was going to be a bridge step between, whatever was, the highest level. So as we watched, it seemed like a real convenient, interesting challenge that we could aspire to. So yeah, it wasn't really planned out. If you know Joy of the People, you know that we sort of just let things go and see where, we water it, we take care of it, we keep dogs from peeing on it, and we let it grow.
And one of the interesting things that I came across in doing research about Joy of the People, it's 1,500 hours of safe, monitored, free play soccer time at no cost to participants. How do you make something like this happen on a year-to-year basis? What's the fabric of, I guess, what are the roots of the tree that we're talking about here to make sure that the tree can continue to grow on a yearly basis?
So we have a program time. So a good example is our summer camps in a normal year. Of course, this is not a normal year. In fact, unfortunately, the first thing that had to go in COVID was free play, which is really sad. Because we weren't, even when we had cohorting, we had to keep certain people together, et cetera, et cetera. But I digress. Shoot, remind me your question again. I'm sorry.
Just when it came to all of the 1,500 hours of safe monitored free soccer time, that you've got to have a lot of
how does that work?
Community for this to go down. What were those roots?
Yeah, so the idea is that people pay for programming, and then we provide free play before and after it. So we'll do an hour of programming where kids can play a skills program, and then we have 2 hours of free play before that and 2 hours after. So kids can come early, they do free play, then we bring everybody together. Okay, this is a program that they paid for, and the program, we call it a skills program. But what we've really done is learn from free play. And so now our skills programs look a lot like the free play itself, perhaps a little more structured. And then we get back to the free play again. So they pay for the programming, and the programming pays for the free play. So summer camps, kids go to camp from 9 to 12. At 12 o'clock, we open the doors for everybody. Everybody comes in from 12 to 4. And so the morning programming has actually paid for the free play, but the kids who come for the free play go, God, I love this so much, I'm going to come at 9. So they get their parents to pay for programming. So
for those not familiar with how St. Louis Park, Minnesota, the surrounding areas are embracing the sport of soccer, what's the footprint like, the fandom like? What is the environment like for those in your area when it comes to embracing the sport?
So Joy of the People is in 2 places. Our kind of our home base is in St. Paul, and we sit right in the middle of Minneapolis City. We're 2 miles away from them on one side and Minneapolis United on the other. So as we saw this, we're also in St. Louis Park. We thought, well, if we do a men's team or a women's team, we should do it in St. Louis Park because we can bring that community together and get them in. It's St. Louis Park itself is a very independent, proud inburb. It's right next to Minneapolis. It's they're very progressive. It's got a great reputation as for education, and they're really a proud community. And we thought, okay, we can get to the schools there. We can activate the kids. We can do free play in this, do a lot of cool stuff to get those to a very center location, which is the stadium, and really sort of, activate the town in that way. That was kind of our goal.
And the way that you want to structure things is you want to have as many homegrown players as possible as a part of your roster to sit there and have folks sit there and see the vision that you have in place with that homegrown talent and that homegrown development along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the kids in free play, obviously they grew up in a different curriculum than kids in more structured. And kids in free play, when they play, they're communicating with each other non-verbally constantly, and they're learning each other's language. And they speak when they have the ball. They listen. They tell stories, and they do really well when they play together. And when other people play, they accept them in and bring them in. We're going to invite everybody, but we think that if we're doing a good job with our grassroots, that it's going to be heavily populated by JOTP or Joy of the People kids. Yeah.
And I noticed that also you're looking at this as a way to change how people think about how folks develop talent, how teams develop talent, how the sport develops talent. Can you get into that for a little bit for me?
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to tie a coach's brain in a pretzel, just ask them, what is talent? Everybody has these subjective answers that they can't quantify. And we think that we've sort of, watching play has really given us clues. The first clues that we know is we have 2 resources. We have time, so let's do things quickly, and we have energy. Let's do things efficiently. Let's do things easily. Cruyff said, the object of soccer is not to run as much as possible, but as little as possible. And when you see kids in play, they expend less and less energy because they want to play all day long. They want to play for 3-4 hours. If they're like running around, shooting as hard as they can, they're not playing. When you play, you actually don't try your hardest. Think about wrestling with your little brother. Are you trying your hardest? You're not. So watching play has informed us of this sort of easy as possible block where really structured soccer really has a difficult time teaching easy as possible. How do you train easy? It's difficult. You can't. Only evolution can, only time can, and it takes a lot of time. So, yes, I would like, well, if you look at A and B licensing in the United States, they're starting to catch on to this model, but they're not fully bought in yet. But I think in 15 years, this will be sort of the model.
So for those that want to get in touch with you, kind of see what's going on up there on a bunch of different fronts, how do they do it? Here's time for your promo for folks that want to keep an eye on what's going on with you.
So, yeah, so Ted at joythepeople.org. I get emails often from every week from people all over the world wanting to know about free play. I always answer. Twitter, Joy the People. We're very active on Twitter. We're starting a new program called Free Play Go, which is older kids. If you love soccer, if you love to play, you have real value. And if you set games up with kids and play with kids, we will pay you for those in sort of a gig economy way to set up games close to home. So it's called Free Play Go, and you can find it at freeplaygo.org. And I would say that's a big thing that we're promoting, to scale free play in your club, in your neighborhoods, around the world, in any sport, not just soccer.
Joy St. Louis Park becoming a part of the NPSL in the Midwest region in 2021. Ted, thanks for hanging out with us here for a Soccer Down Here 1v1. We'll be keeping an eye on you up there in the Midwest region. Good luck in getting everything squared away on that dry erase board to get you ready for the season in 2021. Catching an eye, and we'll be keeping up with you. And thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me. Great.